Rainbow Dash!
Henry and Gordon were feeling lonely lately ever since Thomas and Twilight had left Knapford Yard to run the Ffarquhar branch. They missed them very much, but they had more work to do and had to fetch their own coaches. The big engines thought they were too important to fetch coaches. James started to grumble too.
We get no rest, we get no rest.
But their pony friends just laughed and called them lazy and slack. Altogether, the engines were giving Sir Topham Hatt a great deal of problems. The big stations at Knapford and Vicarstown at both ends of the line each have a turntable. Sir Topham Hatt had put them there so that tender engines can be turned around because it's dangerous for them to run fast backwards. But tank engines like Thomas don't need turntables. They can go backwards quite easily as well as forwards. But if you hear Gordon talking while resting, you would have thought Sir Topham had given him a tender just to show how important he was.
You don't understand, little Thomas. We tender engines have a position to keep up. You haven't a tender, that makes a difference. It doesn't matter where you go, but we are important, and for Sir Topham Hatt to make us shunt trucks, fetch coaches, and go on some of those dirty sidings, it's not the proper thing.
Oh, please.
Thomas and Twilight just chuckled and ran off with Annie and Clarabelle behind them. Later, when Gordon arrived at Tidmouth to be turned around, he was still grumbling.
Disgraceful, disgraceful.
The turntable at Tidmouth was built in a windy spot close to the Sudrian Sea, and if he wasn't put on it just right, he put it out of balance and made it difficult to turn. But today, Gordon was in a very bad mood, and the winds were blowing fierce at their highest peak. Rainbow Dash tried to make him stop in the right position, but Gordon wasn't really trying. Finally, after a long time of getting the big engine positioned correctly, a yard worker tried to turn the handle, but Gordon's weight and the strong winds prevented him from doing the task. This made Rainbow Dash very upset.
It's no good, you fat express engine. Your tender upsets the balance. If you were a tank engine like Thomas, you'd be okay. Now we'll have to pull the next train backwards.
Come on, quick! There's a new tank engine! Oh, what a swizz! It's only gone back to front.
Hello, Rainbow Dash. Is Gordon playing tank engines? Some sensible engine he is. Tell him to take my advice by scrapping his big tender and have a nice bunker like me.
But Gordon just said nothing. Even James and Rarity laughed when they saw him facing backwards.
Take care, you might stick too.
Never fear, Gordon. I'm not so large and fat as you.
Later, James went to Titmus Edge to be turned around so he could be ready for his next train.
Gordon may be right. I mustn't stick.
Then Rarity stopped him on just the right spot to balance the table. It could now swing easily. Gordon and Rainbow Dash arrived in time to see everything. James was turning much too easily because he was less heavier than Gordon is. And the wind spun him round like a top, and he couldn't stop.
Well, well, are you playing roundabouts?
Well, I heard of being taken for a spin, but this is ridiculous.
Poor James, feeling quite dizzy, rolled into Titmus Sheds without saying anything else. Later that night, the three big engines had an indignation meeting.
It's shameful to treat tender engines like this. I have to go backwards and people think I'm a tank engine. James spins round like a top and everyone laughs at us. And added to that, Sir Tomamat makes a shunt on dirty sidings. Ugh. Listen.
He whispered his plan to the others.
We'll do it tomorrow. Sir Topham Hatt will look silly.
The engines have decided to do something that was above the limits, by simply going on strike. And how do they do it? Well, that's going to have to wait until next time.